Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural Florida Data Science Academy collaboration with Vinny Orlando, my best friend from our early childhood days in Port Washington. Vinny is currently switching jobs, and he wanted to talk about some of the analytical decisions that he was trying to make in his career. Vinny, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, D-Man? What's going on, Dylan?
Good. Would you be kind enough to walk us through some of the Excel tutorials and decisions financially of your white collar and your blue collar job of what you've been working through the last couple months?
Yeah, absolutely. So, to give a little background, I'm coming from a white collar job. I was with a fire protection company, office job, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 type of gig, behind a computer. Started at the bottom, worked my way all the way up to the top. Became my director of operations right hand man. Director of operations got promoted. I followed in his footsteps. Trying to follow that just white collar chain of hierarchy where everybody wants to make more money. We're all in the business to make more money. So what I was tasked with, and kind of what I was troubled with, should I say, is I received an offer with a city job. I took a test about 7 years ago for a city job. A city job in the city of New York, should we say, is one of the best jobs that I've been told is out there. It's like hitting the lotto. You have over 100,000 people take a test for a job, and to get called it's like hitting the lottery. They call I don't know, 1,000 people a year out of over 100,000 that take the test. So I kind of was troubled because I was in a good position where I established myself at this place of employment. I worked my way all the way to the top. And I there was still more room for growth. And my biggest fear is complacency. So for me, I wanted to keep moving where I didn't know much about the blue collar side of the job that I was going to go into, or should I say, I was looking into. So I was a little bit scared. I was scared, and I started weighing my current employer at the time versus the city job. What the benefits were. Obviously, we're all in this to make money, so that's where I started to really try to dive down. I made kind of like a mediocre, not even like subpar Excel where I could share with you guys of what I tried to do.
Yeah, how about you walk us through kind of some of the decisions that you were considering in Excel, and I actually was able to make my own spreadsheet, kind of basing some of the data inputs and decisions that you were considering. So hopefully, maybe my spreadsheet can be informative to you or other people that are considering another career switch in their lives from a white collar corporate job to a blue collar job. Probably going to have a less salary, but you're going to probably have more retirement and pension type benefits from a stable government job.
You're absolutely right. And with that being said, the main things for me, obviously with my white collar office job, the benefits are your set schedule, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Obviously overtime as needed. As you move up the chart, you don't really have vacations as much and holidays and things like that. You work to ensure that you're hitting your targets, your goals, whatever is set forth, for you.
Cool. How about you want to share your screen and we can take a look at some of the decisions?
Yes, just enable, if you can enable share screen, share screen.
Multiple participants. All right. How about now?
All right, here we go. You see the Excel over on your side?
Oh, yep. We're in.
All right, perfect. So, this is, obviously this looks like a bunch of just, numbers and random things and placements, but my brain was
we're a data science company. We're pretty good with numbers and Excel.
I was going to say my brain was scattered, so I'm relying on you to help me bring it all into one.
This is a city employee we're talking about.
There you go. So, if you look here, cell A1, let's just start on the left side of this. I kind of just quickly took a breakdown of roughly 23 years. The reason I'm targeting 23 years is with the city of New York, I'm in the Department of Sanitation. Department of Sanitation offers a pension program after, 22 and a half years. So you put 22 and a half years in, and then after that, you retire with your pension. Now, each contract that is put out in a union job, in the city job, is different tiers. My current tier, which I just found out today, actually, is the last 9 years that we work. Our pension is based off of our best averaged 5 years. So originally, I thought it was best average 3 consecutive years. So what I did is I said, how much money can I make in 22 and a half years? 23 for argument's sake. I put each year here, and then at the time in 2021,
AF stands for
it stands for Academy Fire.
Okay, so that's going to be your white collar corporate job.
Yes, this is my white collar corporate job that I've been employed at for the past 8 years. Unbelievable company, took me to new levels in my life. Absolutely amazing company to work for. In 2021, I was at $80,000 annually. I was on an annually salary, but I was allotted a bonus structure. My bonus structure at the time was $25,000. Now, the bonus structure was not guaranteed. It was based over, basically, in a nutshell, the whole company. We hit our targets, we hit our numbers, we bill our revenue, we hit our revenue numbers, our profit margin numbers, etc. Obviously, there's little asterisks and everything. There's so much data that goes into that. But my average annual bonus in 2021 was 25 grand. Prior to 2021, I've hit every single bonus 100%, where I was paid out in full. Obviously, COVID kind of just changed the way of the world, as we know. So, in 2021, we didn't get our full 100% of the bonus. We got about 70%. And with that being said, I kind of just here, again, it's not accurate numbers, but at first, I don't know what I was doing. I kind of just took of what I anticipated where I was and where I would be with an annual salary. Where if you look in cell H1, this kind of got a little bit more realistic. So, if I was to kind of just hide this, it shows you of how my not expertise area was. And then, I kind of just shifted into this area.
So your data inputs in any model are probably going to be pretty important in trying to determine whatever scenario or simulation you're trying to do. Collect good data is probably important.
Yes, exactly. That's where I got you, man. That's where I got you. So
can you hire me as a consultant or something? Why am I doing this for free?
Absolutely. With that being said, I kind of just revamped it. When I was preparing to leave, I was offered a higher position. I was offered director of ops, vice president of ops as things progressed. So with that being said, things started to change. My salary that I was offered was 115 with a $30,000 bonus. And again, this is the white collar job, and then the bonuses that I was offered. Are you guaranteed bonuses? Absolutely not. But being there, I was there for 8 years. 5 years as a manager, 4 of the 5 years we hit 100% of our bonuses. Again,
so it looks like you have in cell I, those are your fire protection corporate salaries. You have your bonuses. Yep. Looks like they're increasing over time. There's some variability in the maybe first 5 or so years, but it seems like you are maybe in the last 20 years of the model, you're hitting those benchmarks. That looks a good interpretation of things.
That's actually spot on. Exactly. I kind of just here, I kind of gauged of what I thought would be increases, which may not be accurate. But as you can see, I left myself at a base of 175 for the remainder of my career, just because I was hesitant to go above that. As I said earlier, having the fear of complacency, I would anticipate going above this, but I figured this would be, kind of just a safety net for myself.
Well, looks probably most corporate jobs have some ceiling sort of the top
Agreed.
Employees get something. You can only move up so high in the company, I would assume.
Agreed. Absolutely. So if you factor, column I and column J in, that's kind of where I was. I also have side hustles. I don't know if now's the time to talk about it. But just for everybody that's going to be watching this, I DJ on the side. I kind of put in here what I make cash versus what I make on the books, and I did that for gross versus net salary.
I think that's a realistic scenario. A lot of people have, other jobs and side hustles and other ways of making money. Probably, maybe.
I mean, in today's day and age, you have to in order just to survive, just to survive.
Yep.
So, I factored all of this in. Obviously, I took the totals of Academy Fire, my bonuses, and then the DJing on the books, because again, everything has to be reported to the IRS. You know what I'm saying? So, I kind of gauged there. Again, these numbers were based off of the cells that we hid, but if you look here, you're averaging over the next 23 years, $6.3 million. Again, this was a little off prior to our discussion, but 6.3 million in the next 6 years. That's
Okay.
low. I put low bowling here because obviously it was 4.7 before, which clearly I absolutely low bowled. So that there's that. If you go to column N and column O, sanitation, city job. I could go into the benefits of the white collar versus the city job. White collar, again, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Vacation is very flexible. PTO, very flexible.
So obviously, in this scenario, we're only focusing on financial aspects of a job, but like everybody knows, there are lifestyle well-being factors that are difficult to quantify. I'm actually considering about making maybe a follow-up tutorial, kind of considering those lifestyle factors of well-being. But in this scenario, we're only focusing on strictly tangible financial aspects.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, until a little bit later when we get towards the right of the board, but financially, sanitation. This number was devastating when I first looked at it. You're talking about going from 115 annual salary to a $40,000 annual salary. That's a massive pay cut to take. So I was petrified. I was absolutely scared out of my mind. Sanitation, the way it works, you have 22 and a half years, you put it in. Everything is not based on productivity, where in the white collar job, your increases are based on productivity, your promotions based on productivity. City job is more of, you have to take a test. You take a test to move up. So the average sanitation worker, they start with a $40,000 a year salary. What's not accounted for in here, there's overtime. There's other ways to make money within the department that are not accounted for in your annual salary. Is it detrimental? A detrimental difference? Not really. Your first couple of years, your first few years, should I say? So sanitation, your first year, you're at $40,000. In 6 months, you get a raise. Your raise is $4,000. I kind of put it. I thought it was 2 years, so I was incorrect here, as you can see. So you get $44,000 annually. Your next raise, and again, I'm finding this all out as I enter this. But your next raise is, 3.5 years, 4.5 years, and then your top pay is 5.5 years. 5.5 years top pay currently for a sanitation worker is $83,465 a year. This does not account for overtime. This does not account for anything else that pays additional in the department. Also, our contract is currently open right now. The Department of Sanitation has not solidified a new contract with the city of New York. So, obviously with inflation and everything that we're dealing with right now, that will be accounted for, hopefully in a progressive way. So what I did here is I put overtime. Reason being is sanitation, that's the first line of defense for the city of New York. You have your snow, we're the largest snow removal organization in the entire country. Come the winter, we're doing 12-hour shifts, 13-hour shifts just to make sure that the streets of New York are clean. Emergency workers, essential workers can't get to work without the streets being, plowed. So again, we're out there 12, 13 hours a day doing this. So with that being said, I kind of gauged in 22 and a half years of I did not account for inflation. I did not account for new contract increases. Again, because I wanted to lowball it, because I wanted to scare myself into.
And I think it's okay to probably not account for inflation if you're not accounting, as long as everything is standardized essentially. So if your expenses and your overtime and your retirement, if we're not accounting for inflation for all of those variables, I think it's probably appropriate. I think what would be difficult is if you accounted for inflation, maybe for your salary, but you didn't account for inflation in your expenses, then it would be a problem. But I think probably as a rough estimate, I think it would probably be okay to not account for inflation as long as you're doing it for all of the factors or variables in your assessment.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Cool. So it looks like so when you're saying, hey, do I stay with a corporate job or do I switch over to a blue collar sanitation job? What are you just strictly looking at hey, corporate is paying me 6.3 million over the next 20 or so years, sanitation's paying me about 1.7 million. Hey, stick with the Academy Fire. You're getting paid more.
So what I did is I backed out the DJ, side hustle, and I compared apples to apples.
Okay.
Where you have
right, because the sanitation job, you don't have a side hustle opportunity, it looks like.
Yes, you do not. So I kind of just, I got rid of the side hustle and I started comparing it apples to apples, where it became, 4.7. I mean, for argument's sake, 4.75.
Okay.
Verse in 2.4.
Okay, so corporate.
So the corporate side of this, I mean, you're almost $2 million, a little more than $2 million more in the next 22 years. So, that's what was scaring me. That's actually what prolonged me, even taking a city gig. So again, I knew that these were low bowling numbers where, as I learned, your overtime and other tasks that you're given and you're allotted more money as you do them, it kind of started to skew the numbers where I said to myself, okay, it's a $2 million difference. But if I can make, 1.5 of that back with a side hustle, I started saying, okay, it's $1 million difference over 22 years. So then I'm going to skip ahead to right here in retirement. With sanitation, you're offered a pension plan. And everybody preaches and prays to me. I had all these people talking to me in my ear, chirping in my ear of you need the pension, you need the pension. When you retire with sanitation, you are given 50% of your best, your best averaged 5 years over the last 9 years of your career. Very confusing. Last 9 years, right? Average your best 5 years, you're given 50%.
Okay.
So, it's very confusing. But the average sanitation worker right now could be making anywhere from, and again, this does not account for if you become a supervisor or a superintendent. If you move up the ladder in sanitation, obviously more responsibility.
Well, you did in factor in, the first 5 years where you had an increase in salary.
Yes. So this is just your average sanitation worker. This doesn't account for if you're a supervisor or a superintendent. I don't know.
So that's just experience, really. It's not even promotion based. Okay.
It's a little bit of both, actually. To become a supervisor, you have to take a test. To become a superintendent, you have to take a test. So you're actually still getting a promotion based on a test, and you're allotted more money. So just to give you an idea, and this is something maybe we'll have to review again, another time from now. But a supervisor, a step up from a sanitation worker, a supervisor, their starting bottom pay is a sanitation worker's top pay.
Okay.
So a supervisor would start at $83,000, and their top pay might be $120,000.
Okay.
So there's room for growth in the Department of Sanitation and room for more money if you're willing to take the test and the more responsibility.
So it looks like, just a rough estimate, when you said the kind of 50% of your highest, years, I'm thinking, okay, 50% of 80,000 would be 40. It looks like maybe you did a retirement that was 50% of if you were a supervisor. Did I interpret that right? Or
very, very close, actually, because sanitation workers are offered overtime. So what I did is I factored in the overtime on.
Okay, so does a pension, your best year is incorporating overtime?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So basically, I took the average sanitation worker. When you're a few years in, you're making anywhere from 120 to 150. I
Okay.
took the higher side of it. I took the 150 side because, again, I know me as an individual, and I'm speaking on my own behalf. I'm going to make sure that I do as much overtime as I can, as much, I want to work on my days off. I want to work as much as I can to maximize, my pocket. So I went a little high on this, and I said that my retirement would be gauged at $75,000. Now, to the day I die, I am given a paycheck for my pension. After putting in 22 and a half years of service with the Department of Sanitation, I'm given a pension. This is on the higher side of it. And again, you're right. I did factor in if I become a supervisor, I put in a little bit higher just because I know that that's what I want to do. So, I factored in that I would be averaging for the rest of my life after retirement, $75,000 a year. So if you look at that $75,000 a year over, and I put here, God willing, I live until 80 years, at least. I like to hit the triple digits. But that's another $2 million right there. So if I take you back, I was $1 million off between my white collar versus my blue collar. I was about a 1.5 off. If I can sit at home in retirement and make $2 million after putting in my time, this is where my brain started to just gauge, different ideas. I started to say to myself too, 22 and a half years, I'd be roughly 53 years old. Then I started to factor in, and you may be well versed in this because I'm not, but Social Security doesn't hit until you're a certain age. I started to factor in this, if I work with a private company, a white collar job, I have to work until Social Security kicks in, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's 65. Around that
Right.
age.
Yeah. Is it? And do you also have to be retired? I think I'm not totally sure on all of the details. You might be. I'm not sure.
It's funny because I don't think you have to be retired. I think Social Security hits when you hit a certain age. So I thought about that. We're talking, I could retire at 53 here versus, 65. That's where I really started to think that's 12 years.
Right. So it looks like if I could maybe synthesize, you would make more money in a corporate job, but you are really valuing the end of life retirement security and of a pension, type blue collar job. It's hard to, you can put a price on the value of the pension, but it also has intangible factors that are just really, really great. And I'm sure it causes you a lot of, financial and, well-being security. You have to have that pension. It's almost priceless to some extent. Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks, Vin. So this is Vinny's model. We're going to put it up on the website if he lets me. We'll put this spreadsheet up. And now, Vin, how about I can share my screen, and I was able to take some of the data inputs that you gave me. I kind of added a couple different variables and other kind of simulations to, make things maybe a little bit more interesting, hopefully, or informative. So you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.